Breaking news from the NFL, and this should surprise nobody, as another one-year contract has been handed out, and this NFL offseason continues to get crazier. This time, three-time Pro Bowl wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. announced on Instagram that he has agreed to a new one-year, $15 million deal with the Baltimore Ravens. The deal could be worth up to $18 million, with $3 million tied into incentives and $13.8 million guaranteed. This all happened just hours before Beckham Jr. was scheduled to meet with the New York Jets, who probably needed him for Aaron Rodgers as part of that wish list item there. Now, Baltimore, they hope that Beckham Jr. can be the "you complete me" to lure Lamar Jackson back after he announced on Twitter back on March 2nd that he wanted to be dealt because he didn't feel that the Ravens had his back. Essentially, Lamar here, he's been screaming, "Show me the money!" And all the Ravens had previously done was sign Nelson Aguilar, which doesn't exactly exude confidence and hope in that regard. Now, you got to look at this Ravens list and the history of wide receivers to understand maybe why Lamar Jackson has the frustration levels that he's been experiencing. Like, look at this list. $6 million they shelled out to Willie Snead. $5 million they shelled out to Sammy Watkins. They just shelled out $3.3 million to Nelson Aguilar. 3.1 is what Rashad Bateman got there after he was drafted. Marquise Hollywood Brown, he got a $2.9 million deal. And Seth Roberts got $2 million. So for the fact that the Ravens actually shelled out $15 million for a wide receiver and showed him the money, I'm not too sure what that means in Lamar Jackson's head. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But since Lamar Jackson took up under center, those are the largest per year deals that the Ravens have awarded wide receivers prior to this Odell Beckham Jr. signing. Then again, if Lamar Jackson is already feeling disrespected about not getting paid, paying someone else may not have been in their best interest, especially a 31-year-old receiver who has suffered 2 torn ACLs in the last 3 seasons. Then again, if Jackson isn't feeling the love, then you have to think that Tyler Huntley or whoever the Ravens are considering drafting here, one of the top quarterback prospects in this year's class, they would appreciate having Odell Beckham Jr. there as a target in the passing game. But you have to feel that based on that Instagram announcement, man, I love getting our information from social media when players break their own news. Basically, Odell Beckham Jr.'s son there, he was out there repping the number 8 Ravens jersey, and you have to feel that Odell knows something that the rest of us do not in regards to Lamar Jackson and where he's going to be playing in 2023. You know, they've already been FaceTiming each other. You know, they've already been in the club. Social media, they've given us that as well. For fantasy football purposes, OBJ, he needs to earn back the trust of fantasy managers. We know that he was balling during that Rams Super Bowl run there. NFC wildcard game, 4 catches, 54 yards against the Arizona Cardinals. NFC divisional matchup, 6 catches, 69 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In that NFC championship game, 9 grabs, 113 yards against the San Francisco 49ers. And then in the Super Bowl, he started off 2 catches, a touchdown to go along with 52 yards before tearing his ACL. That is all great. But again, that was more than a year ago. Odell Beckham Jr. missed all of last season recovering from the latest ACL injury there. He is averaging less than 40 yards per game prior to that Super Bowl run and hasn't had more than 45 yards per game since 2019 when he'd finished with 1,035 yards on 74 receptions for the Cleveland Browns. In his career thus far, the Giants, the Browns, the Rams, although people in Cleveland, they're probably wanting to forget that chapter in their history, Beckham Jr. has recorded 530 receptions, 56 touchdowns, along with 7,367 yards in 96 career games. That works out to roughly 13.9 yards per reception and 76.7 yards per contest, with much of that occurring there with the New York Giants. Anyway, Beckham Jr., he joins an offense that already features Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely, Devin Duvernay, J.K. Dobbins. So you have to figure that if and when Lamar Jackson returns, this is going to be one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL once again. And we know under new offensive coordinator Todd Monken, he has a history of high-rate pass offenses. And he was Odell Beckham Jr.'s coordinator that last time that Odell Beckham Jr. recorded a 1,000-yard season. Expect Odell Beckham Jr. to slide into that wide receiver range for fantasy, but also expect him to go much higher in your home drafts on name appeal alone. Make no mistake, Baltimore will still run the ball with Todd Monken calling plays, and everyone else will be competing for targets behind Mark Andrews. Heck, Andrews was the clubhouse leader last season with 73 receptions and 847 yards, with Demarcus Robinson, yes, Demarcus Robinson, the next closest pass catcher with just 454 receiving yards. Odell Beckham Jr., he is not the alpha that he once was, but playing opposite of Rashad Bateman and starring behind Mark Andrews, that is only going to help his cause if he can stay on the field, not to mention 2 Pro Bowl quarterbacks. For those who like history, and I like to pull up nuggets like this every once in a while, back in 2016, Beckham Jr. put up 222 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns against a Ravens defense, which has to be a good sign for this signing. Then again, that was also the same game in which he proposed to the kicking net on the sideline, so there's that as well. For those not buying the OBJ wide receiver 3 hype, I can't blame you. We've all been hurt before. This, once again, will open up your fantasy football sell window, especially if you're of that belief that the injury history and the numbers certainly are not favorable for OBJ in his return. In fact, it's not just the injury history, it's the Ravens pass catcher history here that we have to also take into account. The last time that they had a wide receiver finish in the top 24, that was 2021 when Marquise Hollywood Brown accomplished that feat. He was the wide receiver 22 that season. Now you're saying, hey, that was 2021. That wasn't that long ago. But that was the first time since 2017 that a Ravens receiver accomplished that feat. So that is something you also have to take into consideration. All in all, I think this is a good move for OBJ. And I also think this is a good move for the Baltimore Ravens, especially as they try to amend their relationship with Lamar Jackson. This has that whole Kobe Bryant back in the Lakers day when we thought Kobe was gone and the Lakers brought him back and they ended up winning a championship when it was all said and done. I'm not saying that the Ravens win a championship, but I'm saying OBJ and Lamar Jackson can help you win your fantasy championships in 2023. See you next time.